So, what's in the name? Is what you call what you are, who or what you've been. Old Dirty Bastard, Detroit Red, Marilyn Manson, The Dream Team, Lady Killer, Magic, The Dark Knight, The Man of Steel. Sometimes the nicknames and their connotations become your name. I read somewhere that it's not what you call, but what you answer to that speaks volumes on who you are. I like that. It makes me think about how the little corner store carryout I worked at came to be called what it's been known as since it came under new management. The Dirtbag Deli. It'd been a fixture in the neighborhood since before I was born. Of course, back then it was called Kim's after friendly Mr. Kim and his family, I guess. But sometime around 15 years old, Mr. Kim sold it. Well, that's what everybody thought. Thinking back, friendly Mr. Kim really just disappeared, to be honest. No goodbye, so long, nothing. Which was strange for a guy that known and fed damn near half the hood. I'm talking from diapers to condoms. That and then the arrival of the new owner, David King. A man of few words, he quietly came in and picked up where Mr. Kim left off. Prices stayed the same, so it wasn't a big thing. And in the absence of any introduction or communication, people filled in the blanks on Kim themselves. And it was a lot of blanks. Who was he? Where did he come from? Did he have a family? And folks came up with any and everything to explain the quiet, surly mountain of a man that made some of the best sandwiches you ever heard. First, he was a war vet with a messed up mind and a personal graveyard worth of confirmed kills. He probably kept pinky fingers or earlobes from dead bodies on a string somewhere as souvenirs. And that eventually grew into King was a psycho who once upon a time had a family until something snapped. He murdered all of them and then disposed of the bodies by feeding them to the two half German shepherds and apparently half wolves he kept tied up in a small lot behind the store. And then they were the only living things anyone ever saw King with. Them damn dogs were there when he opened up in the morning and when he left every night at 10 p.m. The only other thing folk knew about King was that he did have a soft spot for little kids. It wasn't like he did cartoon voices for him or something, but more like his mood and demeanor softened around him. He even smiled sometimes when it was kids he was dealing with. And he was known to even give out free sandwiches to some of the ones who couldn't quite afford it but definitely needed it. So people were split on how they felt about him. Some loved him for looking out for the little ones like he did. Some people, well, you can imagine what they said about the big quiet man they never saw with or even talking to a woman who only smiled and gave free food to kids. That was beyond creepy or inappropriate in the eyes of some, but nobody ever said nothing to him about it. One thing everyone agreed on was King probably wasn't nothing to play with. He was built like Kingpin from Spider-Man and Daredevil comics. Big, but somehow that look of fat was more solid. But it was more how he moved. He had the mannerisms of a dangerous man, a predator, a lion at the top of the food chain. And it was more than a few of them in the neighborhood, and they all accorded him space and respect. But when I got in some trouble and needed a job, he hired me, and he ain't even talk to me that much. Just paid me $1,000 cash every Friday, a even stack, just to stock, clean, and work the register. I couldn't beat that. Only had 3 rules: come on time, never go into the second freezer, and only he made the sandwiches, which was cool with me. It had an understanding and it worked, but then something crazy began in the city, and it made me start to question a lot. Shootings and murders happen every day everywhere, but little children, boys and girls under 10, were being found sexually assaulted and murdered throughout the city. Police had no clues until it happened to my little sister, and she was the only child known to have survived and escaped.